We'll wait for some folks to get in. Here they come. All right, I want to welcome everybody for joining us as you folks are coming in and getting settled and comfortable. To remind everybody, everyone's mics and cameras are off right now. So if you have any questions or thoughts, pop them in the chat that's on the conference platform, and I'll be sure questions get fed through to these lovely people. And with that, we'll let you all take it away.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you welcoming us in, Jen. Welcome very much to our presentation today, Healthy Empowering Response to Opportunity. Please share in the chat your name, the state that you come from, and the role that you are playing today. We want to know who's with us, and we'll go back and take a look at that later. My name is Victoria Hilt, and I am a parent partner from the state of Washington, and I am the co-chair of the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council. And today I am joined by my colleague and my dearest friend, Kara Georgi.
Thanks, Victoria, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us as this conference closes out. My name is Kara Georgi. I am a parent in New York State, and I have the honor of sitting on the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council and the opportunity to really work closely with Victoria. And we're super excited to be able to share this set of tools with you today. Victoria?
Thanks, Kara. The first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to explain who we are and where we come from. Kara, take it away.
All right, so to get started, we figured we should tell you a little bit about the Children's Trust Fund Alliance. That is the one that the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council is an advisory group to. And so the Children's Trust Fund Alliance has been in existence for the last 31 years and really serves as a hub for the national membership organizations for state children's trust funds. Each state across the country has a state children's trust fund that represents the work that's happening in that state. Some are in state government, some are in nonprofit organizations. But overall, the whole goal of the Children's Trust Fund Alliance is to provide a space for that network to come together, to be thought partners, to really help support positive changes in systems and policies and practices in states to really promote well-being for children, families, and communities. What is so powerful is this group is really dedicated and passionate about prevention and has made such a big impression on my life as a parent of helping me to really understand the difference that prevention can make. And Victoria, why don't you share a little bit about the ANPPC?
Great, I'd be happy to. So the ANPPC, the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council, is an advisory group to the Alliance, and we align our work very closely with the Alliance's theory of change. We want to make sure that everything that we do is in line with that theory of change. We dive into it quite often. And we want to raise awareness about the Alliance and its mission to strengthen all parents and communities from a prevention viewpoint. Now, the Alliance and the Council serve as a national model for effectively partnering while expanding and integrating the powerful role of parents and caregivers into everything that we do. We believe that meaningful relationships don't just happen, and they don't just continue without a personal and collective investment. It's an active choice. Now, earlier this week, the ANPPC co-chairs, so myself and my co-chair, LaCrisha Rose, from West Virginia, we shared a deep dive into most of the tools that the ANPPC has created. If you couldn't join us on Tuesday, that's all right. I encourage you to go back and check out the recording though, because you'll see a wide range of tools and resources created by parents that's excellent for parents and organizational partners alike. In today's world, we know that people process information in sound bites, quick texts, single images, short videos. We know that people are busy and they want to get to the point quickly. They want to determine if that information that you're trying to give them applies to them or not. So over the last year, we created 4 separate social media campaigns to spread the word about building protective factors and partnering with parents. We have the resiliency campaign, which you see on the left-hand side of the slide. And that campaign really was about creating images to help parents build resiliency, to help them solve problems creatively, bounce back and transform from negative experiences. COVID-19 as a pandemic is a negative experience, and we've all had to learn how to maneuver through it, bounce back, and transform. That main campaign consists of 12 images with messages linked to resources. The second social media campaign you see about protective factors was done during Child Abuse Prevention Month in 2020. We spent a week on each protective factor to help families in times of need by creating images and messages that help us focus our energies on our families and our loved ones. There was so much unknown ahead of us, and we wanted to promote the use of the protective factors to help us move forward. And then on the right-hand side, you see the 2 hero campaigns. And that's where we started for the month of February 2021, which was National Parent Leadership Month. And that campaign was the healthy, empowering response to opportunity. Parents and families as heroes. This year, the Alliance really wanted to honor parents for their heroic efforts to keep their families strong during 2020. Many parents used the Strengthening Families Protective Factors for healthy ways to respond to the opportunities that the pandemic presented. Now, every year, the Alliance has created a Parent Leadership Month certificate for the last, I don't know how many years, but I know for at least since 2014. But this year, it was very special because it actually highlighted a grandchild of one of our former Children's Trust Fund directors. And it represented something that we all kind of dealt with last year. And that was that at-home schooling, that at-home education need. And so the image that you see on the left-hand side is our certificate, which is a fillable PDF, and it even gives you a place to customize. But this year we wanted to do more than that. We wanted to take it a step further. So we created social media images to help parents know how much we appreciate them and their dedication to their families. The certificate and the social media images are still available for you to use and download. So feel free to use and adapt them for your needs. And make sure you come back to the website in February 2022 to download an updated version. Actually, while we have you here, why don't you go ahead and pull out your phone. Go to the calendar. I would suggest January 31st, 2022. Set a reminder to go visit ctfalliance.org and just put Parent Leadership Month 2022. It's okay, we'll wait for just a minute.
I know, I love that, Victoria. We've been able to take that minute and put it in, because then it helps us to plan for next year, because there's nothing better than having resources we can use right away in our communities.
Now you'll see a common theme when you go look at these tools, which we're actually going to show you a little bit later. You'll see that we try to consider everything you might need to elevate the work and the resources that we have. We provide links to activities, and we encourage you to use them to engage with your parents. Share the memes on social media, and then ask your families to come back and share pictures or narratives of themselves doing the activities. Allow these tools to become a part of your partnership journey. If you don't normally work with parents on a face-to-face basis, maybe you're the ones that are the hub and you help other people reach the families, there's still a benefit to learning what families are doing in your communities to make their families strong. So it's helpful to have them come back and share what they're doing. We also place a really high value on representing all different types of families. And we want to make sure that we do it in an inclusive and equitable way. We want to make sure that the memes and the tools are relatable and enticing. So we take time and we ensure our images are reflective of this value, that the text is easily read, the wording is welcoming and not confusing, and the references and resources that we provide support this value of ours. We've also tried to make the use of our social media tools inclusive and flexible. So depending upon your comfort level, you may have hashtags down, hashtag this, hashtag that, hashtag this and that, or they may just drive you crazy. Maybe you don't even understand their purpose, which is sometimes me, and I'm on social media all the time. But I do know that they can be helpful. So knowing that comfort levels vary, we set up a hashtag for you, so you don't even have to think about it. And speaking about not even having to think about it, have you ever had that moment where you weren't sure what to write with an image? We created a solution for that potential issue before it even emerged. And we provided suggested text for each image, obviously adapted to fit your needs, but it takes the guesswork out of elevating those resources. So now this social media campaign was so successful, and we wanted to explain how the tools kind of work with social media, because when we went back to the drawing board, knowing that Child Abuse Prevention Month 2021 was coming up, we decided to continue to roll with this theme of heroes, and we created our next campaign.
So we decided in April of 2021 that we wanted to not only recognize parents as heroes, but really start to look at families as whole families, really helping families realize what are they doing to build healthy, empowering responses to opportunities that they were having with their children. And we knew that everyone was just having a whole lot of feels. It has been hard, it's been challenging. And with all of that, there's a lot of emotions. And we know that protective factors is what helps keep families strong. And so that's what we focused on. And we decided that these healthy, empowering responses to opportunities, we're going to zoom in on the everyday actions that build social emotional competence development of children. So thinking of how do we help families recognize what's healthy? How do we help families recognize what is an empowering space? Really looking through at the responses that they were having and the opportunities they were having in those everyday moments with their children. And so as we thought through this campaign and how it was going to look, we really said, we want to really look at the power of telling people they're heroes. Think about that. If somebody were to walk up to you today and say, wow, you're a hero for children, or wow, you're a hero for families, just how that feels, right? And we wanted to celebrate that with families. We wanted to help them help their kids process those big, complicated emotions that they might have been feeling. Some of those feelings they just had despite COVID, right? Just as naturally human beings that are growing and developing and changing, there's a lot to work through that. And so we decided with this campaign that families already have tools and resources that are just naturally there, because we're always known as our child's first teacher. But sometimes we need extra tools, and we need them in a variety of different ways. And so that is where we decided it's important that we start looking at the idea of a toolkit, something that would be accessible to families, something where there would be not just things they had to read or do, but things with videos that they could watch, where parents talked about it in real ways, where people also gave them concrete things that they could try right away after they opened up one of the files. And so we really thought that this campaign was a huge opportunity to start exploring that and giving parents that space. And so we're going to share a little bit through how we laid out the month, how we decided to break each week out. And we have a few special nuggets and surprises along the way. And so with that, I'm going to pass it to Victoria to kick us off for our first week with H is for healthy.
The H in hero is for healthy, because a hero family models nurturing support to each other. I'm just going to let that sit with you for a second. What you're looking at right now is our first toolkit, the first thing that we came out with, our little toolbox. And inside of it, there's activities, the videos, including personal interviews with ANPPC members, printable resources, further reading, and social media tools, very similar to the Parent Leadership Month campaign that we just showed you, complete with the suggested wording and the hashtag. Now, for that week, when we thought about superheroes, we reminded ourselves that everyone is really a hero in their own right. It's about modeling the behavior that we want to see in our children and families. It's about modeling the behavior that we want to see in our communities. It makes me think about what our keynote speaker on the first day of this conference said, Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, and she referenced the importance of self-care in order to care for others. And we really wanted to elevate this understanding that for parents to encourage self-care and positive, healthy relationships in their families, that they needed to model this behavior. We all need to model this behavior. So this week's toolkit included topics on gratitude, mindfulness, and resources on how to connect with children in ways that are meaningful to each individual family. Which takes us to week 2, E. The E in HERO is for empowering. Helping children develop a positive cultural identity and interact in a diverse society is empowering. Everyone is really a hero. It's about empowering them to recognize their own family, each individual member, and their uniqueness to develop positive cultural identities. This week's toolkit touched on topics like helping children develop positive self-esteem and self-image, activities to celebrate diversity, connecting with children through mediums that work for them, like Legos, or like my daughter, she plays video games. And then we also dove in and started to explore this idea of adult and children love languages and how that might show differently between the two. I know for myself, discovering that my love language of acts of kindness isn't the same as my daughter's love language of physical touch. And even if they were, we would still show them differently because I'm an adult and she is a child who is learning and growing in different ways. And we wanted to touch on and explore how we value each other's strengths and innate abilities to communicate. When we think about transforming our tomorrow, which is the theme of this conference, we're reminded that we all play a part in creating that dream. Knowing we all have a significant role, that's pretty empowering. Now, today we want to share with you an interview with Lachey Kennedy from Colorado. She's a member of the ANPPC, and she touches on those topics from week 2.
Hello, everyone. My name is Edward Casillas. I am a member of the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council. We are continuing to celebrate parents as heroes and acknowledging that many ways that families are helping their children and themselves manage all the emotions that come in the day-to-day and throughout this pandemic. And with me is Lachey. And Lachey, I wanted to ask you, what tools do you find yourself reaching for when you are helping your child celebrate their uniqueness of themselves and others?
Thank you, Edward. Yes, this is a very interesting question and very, focused uniqueness for my daughter. Due to an accident in 1998, she survived a traumatic brain injury, and so her uniqueness has different layers to it. And I think as we may shop for different toys or are out in the community, always pointing out others' uniqueness and not making her disability or wheelchair use or even communications device use unique, but this is the way you walk around, this is the way you speak, and what tools do you use? And as I even train staff of her body does the same things, they just do them differently, and explain that to other children and allow children to ask questions about any person in a wheelchair and answer their questions versus be quiet, don't ask questions, and don't stare, but be able to give other young people space to ask questions and to remain curious. And so we celebrate maybe nights that she may not be screaming because of her brain injury, and we celebrate the screaming. So we all support the team, myself and the roommates all support it, because we don't society sometimes does not make it easy for people to experience their emotions. Depends on what those emotions are on the spectrum. And we accept happiness, joy, peace, quiet, but we slap down screaming or anger or you're being quote unquote bad. And so it's about where is any person on the spectrum of emotion, and just supporting that, and what resources and support does that individual need. So that was a long answer, but
Wow, what a powerful answer, though. That's amazing, and I really admire you and your family. So thank you so much for that, Lachey. Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Wow. I mean, we've heard that video, but like,
Tractor Supply is your local
really
lawn and
hearing
garden
it?
supply company. Shop or find a store near you at tractorsupply.com.
Gotta
Hold on
love those
one
YouTube
second.
ads.
Check.
I would just to follow up on what you were saying, Kara, I think that even though we've heard that video, I don't know, probably 10 times, 11 times, 15 times, I don't know how many times, it still hits me every single time, because really, truly, honestly, we need to teach our children how to embrace those pieces of themselves.
It's so true. Thanks, Victoria, for jumping in there during our crazy technical time. And with that, like, I think of the vulnerability that Lachey shared of like really giving space for those range of emotions, right? And helping our kids think through that. And then I think about our third week and how in this third week, we looked at R is for response. Responding proactively when social or emotional development seems to need support. So what are we able to do for our children in those moments? And really exploring that with them of how do we respond when we're struggling, for example. I think of right now with how we always are having to feel ready to respond, right? We're just in that quick state. And how do we help our children to be able to express those feelings, to let that pressure valve off, right? And as we looked at week 3 and we're thinking through what are the activities we're going to do? What are the videos? What are the printable resources? And what are we going to do for further reading? I was really looking at how do we make responding proactively fun? How do we create that safe space that Lachey talks about where we can be vulnerable, where it's not just us asking and talking with our kids about their emotions, but we're also sharing with them as adults, right? Like, how are we feeling? How are we needing sometimes, you know what, I'm just feeling a lot. I need to go for a walk. And letting our kids know, what did that walk do for us? What was that space helpful for? Letting our kids too have an opportunity to kind of really play with those emotions, right? And one of the activities is matching egg pieces together and making faces. And I think so often, sometimes we forget the value and benefit of play, even with our older children. Like Victoria shared, her child loves to be on games and things. And we got to explore what are some of the emotions in those, right? When we're playing, but also that we see being expressed in those and helping our children to name those, talk about where they feel them in their body, talking about how do you change that feeling, right? And then when we got the opportunity to really think through the video portion, again, some of our AMPPC members were able to share videos of just what do they do? And what I appreciated about how we approach these videos is it was not tell us your best parenting secrets. It was just, let's have a real conversation. And we just happened to hit the record button and have them recorded, right? Where it wasn't scripted, it wasn't rehearsed, it was simply, what were you thinking? And I remember when we were approaching the R's to response, I was struck by something that my daughter actually gifted to me. And that was something she learned in school, which was a strategy called Peace Begins With Me. And she literally taps her fingers as she says that. And the first couple of times it's out loud, then it's quiet, then it's whispered, then it's silent. And I'm like, whoa. When she first did it with me, I was like, oh my gosh, like that really makes something happen in your body. But I didn't bring that gift to my daughter. She was blessed by someone else in our community to give her that. And so as you think about how you might use these toolkits or share these resources, of course, please share them with families, but share them with anyone you know who's working with families. Because all of you who are doing that, you're giving gifts to those kids that they're bringing back to their parents. And we need those. And so I think, and I encourage you to think through, how do you get more of these types of things out into your community? How do you find things that work? And as we approached finding activities and resources and reading, we went using our parent guts as we explored. Does that sit with you? Does that resonate with you? We asked each other those things. So that way, as we built out this toolkit, it was tools that a lot of us were like, yeah, I think that could be helpful. And like Victoria said, not everybody wants everything super long. We want short, quick sometimes. We needed to honor that and recognize that in terms of how we were responding and building these out. And then it gets me to week 4. O is for opportunity. This one I want you to really think about. Help parents foster their child's social and emotional development. Think about that. For some, that can feel heavy because social emotional development, oh my goodness, there is a lot in there, from just understanding their developing brains to understanding their emotions, to understanding how they're feeling and expressing themselves. And sometimes, very often, they're expressing themselves with behavior, right? But behavior is communication. And we need to look for those opportunities of where do we help support our children? How do we help support them in those ways? And so I encourage you as you approach week 4, and that O is for opportunity. How do we really help parents to find those opportunities and use those opportunities with their kids? Because we all know emotions have all sorts of feelings for us. They can be super big sometimes, and we might see a really big feeling, but when a parent takes that opportunity to see that big feeling and say, wow, looks like you're feeling a lot. And you sit down on the floor with them, sit next to them on a couch and say, what's going on? It looks like you've got a lot of big feelings or emotions right now. Maybe try helping them, naming them, and really walking through with your children of what is it that's really at that heart, the core of what's going on for them. And so again, we wanted to give them opportunities where they could use real life activities. One of them, again, it's one of my favorites and it's actually always by me. It is my come down jar. You might say, Kara, what is that? It is very simple. You can have families build these super easily. Plain plastic clear water bottle, put in some food coloring because everybody loves things with color. Me, I love glitter. My husband, not so much, but there is glitter in here that makes it sparkly. There's little pieces of tissue that float. But what I didn't realize about this opportunity that I learned from my community, for one, back then I didn't recognize as a parent, it's prevention. Now though, with my knowledge that I've gained as a parent partner, I'm like, oh my goodness, this thing is powerful. And it's probably why it sits by me. If I'm feeling all sorts of stuff, I'll shake it up and I just sit and I watch the bubbles, the glitter, the pieces settle in that. And thinking through how can we help families have tools like that, right? How do we help give them resources? Then how do we help them talk about, what do I do with this with my kids? How do I use this with my kids, right? Because sometimes we just assume that we know what is going to happen or how to handle it. And so I encourage you to think through, what are those opportunities to help parents build their children's social emotional development. It's not always books. Sometimes it's games that they can play, feelings games, where they can practice making funny faces in the mirror, see what it looks like to be really, really mad, see what it looks like to be really sad. What does it look like when you're super excited and you can't wait for that big thing to happen? Helping your kids to start reading people's faces. Because even now during the pandemic, when we're wearing masks, you can still see people's expressions with their eyebrows and different body language that they're using. Our kids need us to help them figure that out, especially when they're in those environments. And then I think my favorite thing in this toolkit is a resource where they talked about 12 hugs a day. And I share this because in the quote, it says, we need 4 hugs a day for survival. I want you to think about that, 4 hugs. We need 8 hugs a day for maintenance. We need 12 hugs a day for growth. I want us to think about the power of those hugs. I have a teenager right now, and I'll be honest, he gives me this weird look when I'm like, can you hold on a second? And I give him a hug. He's like, what are you doing to me? I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get my hugs in because I want to make sure you're growing and strong. And think about the power of that. Hugs are good for us psychologically. They're really good for us emotionally. And sometimes we really just need somebody to give us that hug, where it's not just the hug where you've put your arms around them, but that hug where you can almost feel their shoulders relax and then give in to that really good feeling of just having somebody hold you. Think of that right now, right? We haven't had those opportunities. And one of the things that I really appreciate about our council is that we do have a dad on it. We definitely want more, but Edward has been a phenomenal father representative on our council. He's taught us a lot. He's taught us about the importance of the space for fathers. And what's really, really cool is he gets the space and the importance of dads helping their children build their social emotional development. And so I'm going to share a video of Edward with how he shared, how he's helping his teens share their social emotional development. And I'm going to hope that we have a smooth run this time.
Hi, I'm Betty Hawkins Emery, and I am a member of the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council, and we are continuing to celebrate parents and families. We're so happy that you're here with us today in the room, and we welcome you. Today, we have a real good friend of mine. His name is Edward Casillas, and we are going to talk to you about how we support our children or in managing their emotions. Edward, what do you do when you talk to your children about managing their emotions?
Thanks, Betty. Good to see you. When I think about my children and the teenagers that they are, I would say they're a total different world when you come into the world of teenagers. So the emotions are all over the place. One day they may be very angry, another day very sad. So I think what I use the most is self-regulation. And what I mean by that is not to get too frustrated, not to get too excited myself, trying to figure out what's going on, because most of the time they don't share. I have to be like a detective almost, what's wrong? What's going on? Is everything okay in school? What's going on with your friends? And so I have my boy who's 16 and my daughter who's 15. My daughter's emotions are, kind of all over the place right now. I love her to death. And there's times where I can approach her and ask her what's going on and she'll share with me. Other times I approach her and she just shuts down. And I have to remember to give her a little bit of space, let her process, and when she's ready to talk to me, she'll come talk to me. But I don't always do that, to be quite honest. I want to fix it. I want to help her. I know she's sad. So I'll ask her a bunch of questions and then she'll get frustrated with me and then I get frustrated and then, nothing really gets accomplished. So one of those things that I've learned the most is just kind of be in the moment. When she's ready to talk, she'll talk. Now with my boy, it seems boys, men, everything kind of, when they're learning how to regulate and deal with their feelings, everything turns to anger. So with him, I definitely give him a lot of space. And when he's ready to talk, he'll share with me. Sometimes we go for a walk, we'll go for a drive. He loves to drive now. He doesn't have his license yet, but loves to drive me around. So sometimes we'll go for a drive and he'll start sharing what's going on with his feelings. And then most of the time, you know, not be afraid to shed a tear with them, if, you know, to let them know you really care. And I do, I love them very much. And when they're sad, I'm sad. When they're happy, I'm happy. So that would be one of the biggest things I would say, is just kind of be in the moment, being aware of myself and how I'm feeling, and using listening skills most of all.
Thank you, Edward.
Wow. I love hearing Edward talk about how he communicates with his teens and how he works with them where they are with what they're doing to address their needs. And I think it's important too that he mentions his own personal needs in that too, and recognizing that he needs to be self-regulated, approaching them in a way that's welcoming and warm. Now, I think it's very important to understand that with social and emotional competence, it can be difficult to explain these things with a piece of paper or with an online meme, even though we try really hard to convey those messages. I know I personally had an interaction very recently where someone said, "How do you even do that?" And I was like, I have no idea how I do that. I don't know how I do anything. I'm just a parent. I'm just a parent. And none of us are just a parent, right? But when I started thinking about it, I actually responded to her. And I was like, hey, I do it because I have these social connections through you. And I do it because I'm able to reach out to concrete supports when I need them in those desperate times of need. And I understand emotions and child development. And I understand these things. So it's easier for me to approach my child when she's experiencing these big emotions. And she's a preteen. So Edward is teaching me because I'm going to be there soon. But the important thing is that this leads to a conversation where she goes, "Really?" And I say, "Yeah, those are protective factors, and you have them too. You have them when you do this. You have them when you do this." And I give her examples of when she's exhibiting her resiliency. And that actually brings us to the next thing, which Kara's going to talk to you about, which is our social and emotional competence conversation guide. Now, LaChristia and I kind of covered this a little bit on Tuesday. So again, I recommend that you check out that video. But we're going to talk about it too here because it is so essential to that conversation piece of elevating our heroes.
Thanks, Victoria. And it's so true. Like protective factors in action in our everyday parenting moments, it's exactly that. It's like just something we do. But when we're able to have some of those conversations, that's when we can have those aha moments. It's when we can have somebody who can point those things out to us and say, yeah, like that is doing something really powerful for your child. And we know that the protective factors don't live in isolation. What our hope was, as we thought through, how do we keep building out these tools for families and communities? We're like, we need to help give that space to have conversations, recognizing every community is unique and different. And so what we decided to do is, again, really focus in on the everyday actions. So think about that as you partner with parents and work with parents. The more you help us as parents understand what is a protective factor, what does that even mean? What does that mean for me as a parent? It helps us to create amazing things like this. A guide that has questions that can be asked in a community. A guide that doesn't just have questions that can be asked in a community, but a guide that has multiple different time plans, because we know like sometimes it's long and sometimes it's short. We knew that as parents, we wanted it to be realistic. We wanted it to be used. And in this guide, not only does it have different time plans and questions as a PowerPoint, if you want to have a formal presentation, it has a reporting form. So not only is there that space for the good conversation, but a tool that you can use to say, what did we hear? What were the themes that we heard parents talking about? What are the follow-ups that we could do? What are the additional resources or connections we can help make? And then I think what is so valuable to me about this guide is it creates that space, because sometimes as parents, we just need to be able to talk about what it's like to be raising children. As Victoria shared, having parents that have different ages of kids is helpful, because you can say, like, what are your lessons learned? What might I hopefully avoid? What can I be ready for? It's also helpful, though, to have families where their kids are close in age. One of the things I love most about Victoria is not only are we working together, but we're personal friends. We're literally, as we prepared this presentation, I had a social emotional competence moment where I was like, Victoria, fill me in. How do you do this with a girl? Like, girls are so different than boys. And she was able to take that moment and just be real with me and just talk to me, mom to mom. But I have to tell you, after having that time, and it was short, it was brief, because we had to get this ready for you. But that time that she gave, I was able to take that breath of, okay, we can conquer this tomorrow. We got this. And so don't shortchange the opportunities where you can spark conversations. Don't shortchange the opportunities where you can have tools like this help, or tools like this on our parent voice page. Again, we have really spent intentional time learning about the protective factors, grounding ourselves. What does it mean? What does that actually look like? And our whole grouping of parent networks, our Alliance National Parent Partnership Council, our Birth Parent National Network, our Birth and Foster Parent Partnership, all have spent dedicated time understanding and trying to learn and figure out, how do we help communities embrace protective factors and build them and show families how they're already doing that. It's not one more thing to do. It's, let's point out the intentional work you are doing. What is making your wheels spin? And this infographic is one of my most favorite things on our Parent Voice page, a page dedicated to our parent work, where we can put up these great resources that we collaborate on together, where we can show families protective factors are moving. Protective factors are action oriented. There's so many things you can do. And so I encourage you to check out our Parent Voice page, because not only is there this great image, but there's also new one-pagers that we just released for the protective factors. The Alliance National Parent Partnership Council has made a huge commitment. We didn't want just one page and kind of start it and never finish. We decided every protective factor needed to have a special page dedicated to understanding what the definition is, what were the everyday actions, and then showing families what we heard from them across the country of how they're building that protective factor. And then really helping them to dive in deep and look at that. These are hot off the press. If you have not checked them out, you need to. In addition, there's the social media images that Victoria pointed out to you. Customize them, make them your own, share them, steal them, borrow them. That's why they're on our website. Like, we want to see these lots of clicks. Another thing that you might have heard at the very start of this conference is about the Alliance Resiliency Project that we did during COVID. That was an amazing presentation as well. I encourage you, if you didn't attend, go back and watch that and learn how flexible funding can change the lives of families. But maybe you're short on time, because there's a lot of good things to go back and watch, right? So the report's there. Print it off, read the report. You will get so much from that as well. There's also, look at that, another conversation guide. And I know this was a hot question in some of the workshops. Conversations for Better Normal is available not only in English, but in Spanish. Conversations tied to protective factors and how do you build them during a pandemic. Available for you, free to download. Report back to us. Tell us what you're learning, what you're hearing, how we can keep making resources for parents, by parents, and then additional COVID resources. And as we thought about this presentation, we're like, we're telling you to do a lot of clicking. You might not know where all this clicking needs to happen. So I'm going to stop this PowerPoint. I'm going to take you there so that way you understand exactly where to go. So our website is ctfalliance.org. You will see at the top the beautiful banner. Think of this as your control panel. And look at that, Parent voice is right there. So it's super easy to find. You
Kara,
click on it. Yes.
it's not sharing.
Thank you. Let me click on the master screen. There we go.
There we go.
So here's our home screen. Beautiful picture of a family. And parent voice is right here. This bar right here is like your control panel. So when you click on parent voice, you'll know you're on the right page because you'll see what gets your wheels spinning. Ooh, look at that. There's a policy webinar coming up you could register for. Ooh, right there. All right, but let's stay focused. So on that parent voice page, look at the beautiful graphics tied to protective factors. Here's those one pagers that we were talking about today. Oh, look at that. They were giving us a shout out about the conference. So that way you see the connections that were being made. Here's those social media images you can download. That language Victoria told you about, because remember, sometimes it's the hardest barrier. What do we say? Tweak it, customize it, make it your own. Then we have those resources tied to COVID. This talks about our resiliency project. This right here, a story from one of the parents who got impacted by this resiliency project. I'll forewarn you, you might need some tears, some tissues for those, because it's powerful when you think about what we are doing for families. Then conversations for a better normal, all those wonderful resources right here. Notice we break it out for you. Facilitator guide, English or Spanish. Participant worksheets, English, Spanish, PowerPoint, same thing. All of it is there for you. But notice this part, a Google form where you can share with us. We want you to share with us. We want you to stay connected. We want to make sure we're doing powerful, amazing things that can help you in your work that you're doing. But I'm going to scroll up to the top. Close your eyes if this is way too fast, because for some it is. Now, stationary. Let's look at that control bar again. We got Alliance logo. You know you're with the right people. Then you're going to come over here to the word menu. Click on the menu. And again, think of this as your control spot. You know that Victoria and I are parents. So that is why you're going to remember to go to partnering with parents. And you're going to go to AMPPC. Why I'm telling you to come to the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council, or the AMPPC page, is at the very bottom is all of those social media images that we talked about. The one that we have focused and zoomed in on with all of you today is this Prevention Month campaign. And it says down at the bottom, view campaign here. And when you click that, that's what like opens up your world to all of those toolkits that we built out. So you'll see our why and kind of some background of why we did this, that language piece again, because that's important, right? Here's the best part. Victoria, yes, woohoo, she is here, made a step-by-step video because some people don't know how to share stuff. And so she was there to help talk about how do you post it. Then we have more information to really help explain what it is we're all about. And then here's the magic. All the weeks are here, and watch this. Week 1, activities. Look at all those activities. All sorts of different things that you can just click on. Every one of those little orange things, something different to explore. Maybe you're like, Kara, I don't got time for activities. I'll listen to people. Click on videos. This is AMPPC members who are talking. Here's what I really want to elevate though. See this amazing one right here with this beautiful lady? That is Martha Reeder, our mentor. She is absolutely amazing. But one of the things I love most about Martha is the fact that she's a grandma, and a very, very proud grandma. And we thought it's important as we celebrated heroes to celebrate the way the grandparents stepped up too. Martha has been a huge support to her family and her grandchildren. And she has an incredible video here that you can watch. Then check it out. Maybe you're like, I don't have time for videos. I don't have time for activities. Give me quick and fast. I can print it in a click. Here you go. Lots of resources to start clicking on. And then for some, we're like, we're input people. We need to gather information. Here's some information that you can start reading and exploring. So I encourage you, check out each week. There's all sorts of different things. Sometimes it's a one-on-one interview. There's group interviews. So there are so many things for you to explore in this campaign. We'd go like for hours if we really truly dove into each piece. But all I can say is this has been powerful information stuff for all of you. I'm hoping that it'll be helpful for you as you work with your families. If you are a parent, I'm hoping something resonates and maybe helps if you're going through a hard time. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Victoria to keep us connected with you.
Thank you so much for walking us through the website, Kara. I know that sometimes in life, just having someone walk us through it once makes it so much easier to be able to say, oh yeah, I got that. I can go to that website later and check out the resources. Speaking of which, the website address is right there for you, www.ctfalliance.org. And in addition to the website, we hope that you'll stay in contact. We hope you use these tools to build and promote protective factors and strengthening communities, and that you'll share with us what you learn. One of the ways that you can do that and stay in touch with the Alliance and the ANPPC is on our Facebook and our Instagram. It's a great way to share things. Social media for the win. It can be a good thing and it can be a great thing. It's all in how you use it. And when we make new tools or gather more resources, if you follow us on those platforms, you'll be the first to know. So you'll be in the know before anybody else. You want that, trust me. Additionally, talking about the other parent partner groups as well. They have all been represented this week at this conference. The Birth Parent National Network, the Birth and Foster Parent Partnership, the Birth Parent Advisory Committee. We have all been here because we want to show you what we've been doing. And we all have tools and we have resources and published material for you to read on the website. If you find yourself wanting to know more about any of that, any of the resources, wanting to partner with any of our parent groups, wanting to learn about our tools, resources, and trainings online and hopefully again one day in person, please contact the Alliance's Senior Associate, Martha Reeder. She is the gatekeeper and the keymaster of all things parents, and she can help you get what you need. She's also the gatekeeper for resources, so really you can't go wrong. Her email is on the screen, martha.reeder@ctfalliance.org. Please contact us, let us know what you need, because we want to help you. And we really want to know, we really want you to know that we really hope that you leave this conference feeling empowered and feeling like it was a great asset to you. So let us know what tools you need. Let us know what you want. We're here for you. And we're open to take any questions that you might have. We'll stay for a little while and give that opportunity, or you can have the gift of time back.
We don't have any questions yet, but thanking for the tools.
And also, I just want to remind everyone, our slides will be posted and available shortly after the presentation. We'll upload them in the files section. So please feel free on the platform to check back in under that section, and you'll be able to see that those resources are there. Currently, we do have that infographic of the parent partnerships with the wheels spinning there that you could click on and download and have available, because we are super passionate at the Alliance National Parent Partnership Council about being able to partner to really transform our communities, really build strong, healthy communities, and create a space for all families and children to thrive, not just survive.
All right, so in the chat, there's more enthusiasm, but no questions yet.
All right, well, I think maybe then feel free to contact us on the platform, but have your 7 minutes back. It's been a great week and I've had a great time, and take care of yourselves.
All right, so I'm gonna pop the survey into the chat. And there you are. So thank you all so much for this wonderful information and for all of the resources you shared. And to all of our attendees, this was our last session of hopefully a really wonderful conference. There's one more self-care snippet, and I would highly recommend Dr. Bart Klicka's lemon bars. That's where I'm going to go because I've had them and they're wonderful. So, so have a lovely, lovely afternoon, and thank you all so much.